What's going on, everybody? Today is Friday, October the 30th, one day before Halloween, and you know what that means. It's time for my next edition of my News Radar. So news broke the other day that highly anticipated game by CD Projekt Red, the creators of the Witcher series, Cyberpunk 2077, which was announced, I think, like 10 years ago. I think it was like 7, but whatever. It's been delayed again. So it's moved back by about 3 weeks. So now December 10th is the new release date for Cyberpunk. Now, interestingly enough, we didn't really get great information as to why. Pretty much all they said was that they were optimizing the game across all these platforms. So between PC, Xbox Series X and S, PS5, PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, all these platforms needed to get a version of this game optimized and ready to go. Well, now we have a little bit better information here in that we know that the game is running well on PC and the next-gen consoles, but it seems as though the last-gen, or I guess current-gen systems are where the hang-up is. They said, quote, "The game is ready for the PC and runs great on next-gen consoles and could be shipped on the scheduled date on those platforms. However, even though the game has been certified on the current gens by Sony and Microsoft, some very final optimization processes for such a massive and complex game require a bit of additional time." So it's really interesting because that's them saying that, hey, look, we could have shipped this game, but it wouldn't have maybe run as well on the last-gen consoles as we would like. Now, does that mean that it would run pretty well most of the time but have hitches here and there? Or does it run like absolute crap on the older systems and they're trying to get it to a passable point? It seems as though as they got closer and closer to next-gen hardware, they started pushing the limits of this game more and more to the point that the older consoles are having a hard time running a game that was initially intended for them in the first place. So to make this story, which is already kind of upsetting and depressing, a downer for fans that want to play this game, let's take it in an even darker direction. So senior game designer at CD Projekt Red tweeted, "I want to address one thing in regards to the Cyberpunk game delay. I understand you're feeling angry and disappointed and want to voice your opinion about it. However, sending death threats to the developers is absolutely unacceptable and just wrong. We are people just like you." Now, this is some stuff that is kind of really messed up. The idea that a game gets delayed and people think the appropriate response is death threats. As someone who is on YouTube, who is an internet-facing sort of person at this point, I don't get a ton of hate, but I have had my fair share of personal insults and vitriol and hate slung my way, which I generally just delete so that it doesn't exist on the platform. I generally delete and report these sorts of comments. But these guys, I'm sure, are getting just a flood of hate, and it's super inappropriate. It's super disappointing. If you love the game, why are you treating these people like this? And keep in mind reports that I talked about in my Cyberpunk delay video from Jason Schreier, Bloomberg Games, if I'm not mistaken, saying, these guys were working 100-hour weeks trying to get this game ready. So let's have a little bit of compassion and sympathy for these guys. It's 3 weeks and the game will be out. If you want to lose a little faith in humanity, search CD Projekt Red or Cyberpunk 2077 on Twitter and just read the comments. It's pretty gross. It's pretty upsetting. We need to be better. So let's talk about something a little bit more fun. We've got two sort of phone newsy things to talk about here. So TCL, a company that's mostly known for their televisions and so forth, have shown off a video of a rolling concept for a phone. So instead of a phone that is one folding OLED screen, imagine a phone where the OLED actually will roll around so that it can slide out like this to get bigger. So no need to fold, so no crease if it's rolling. So we've got this really interesting video here where this thing is, it seems to be being done by a machine, obviously, so this is not maybe ready for prime time, obviously, but the fact that this thing is rolling up and down where the screen is now going around the bin, so that, again, there's no crease there. So you can have a normal size phone and slide it out that way and maybe increase the screen size by 50% or even by double. I mean, this is some pretty cool technology that they're showing off here. And if you look at some of these here, that's really thin. Like that's pretty close to a functioning form factor of a phone. So it says here, the video shows a 4.5-inch smartphone which can expand to 6.7 inches without compromising device thickness. one of the biggest problems with the Z Fold series is that, when you take essentially a phone and fold it in half, you're going to double the thickness of the phone. Where with this mechanism sliding, there's no need to increase the thickness any further. And the way that the speed of technology is really increasing with this innovation, I don't think it's that crazy to think that maybe this thing could come along quicker than you guys may be thinking. Personally, I feel like the future is not folding screens. I think the future is rolling screens. Anytime you fold anything, it creases. So something that rolls like that, you could avoid that crease if it's done correctly. Super, super fascinating stuff. But let's take a step over to something that does fold. We have a patent, another patent from Samsung. We talked about one a couple of weeks ago, and this is maybe just as zany and strange as the other one. So we're going to be reading off of Android Authority, where they have a few renders of what this beast might look like. And it's important to keep in mind that this thing probably will never see the light of day, but it's really, really interesting. So we have a tri-fold design. So this thing's going to be a really thick boy when it's folded all the way up. So you're going to fold in and then fold back again. It's going to be, like an inch thick nearly. But why would you want to have a tri-fold design? Well, you can do all sorts of strange things like this. Apparently, there's an interior screen that will slide out from one end and give you a keyboard. So you could set it up like that for some reason if you wanted to do that. And they show a close-up here of what that might look like. The hinge design would have to be incredibly impressive across the board to make that sort of thing work. Why would you want a tri-fold design? Well, because you get an even bigger tablet. If you want a normal size phone, fold out 3 times. Enormous tablet, super, super thick. What do you think of this form factor? Is it something that you would want to use at all? Easily one of the strangest designs I've seen from Samsung in a long time, but it's really, really interesting. And honestly, I kind of want to see something like that get made just because I like weird devices. And let's close the show off with something that we stumbled onto on the Surface Duo subreddit. There's a guy named, I'm going to try really hard here. His name is Yutaka Tsumori. And I think I nailed that. And he has made on the Google Play Store over the last little bit a couple of apps. He actually made the wide mode for LG app, but he's also now made a screenshot snipper for the Surface Duo. You guys may know one of the biggest annoyances with the Surface Duo is that when you take a screenshot, you're going to get a screenshot of both screens, even if one screen is folded around behind. So if you've got it in phone mode, which is where you've got, one screen folded around, one screen is not actually going to be active, you are going to get a screenshot of an empty desktop from this other side. Well, with this app, what you do is you install this app, Screenshot Snipper. I'll have it linked in the comments down below. Then when you take your screenshot, which is pretty standard, you'll get this pop-up that asks you if you want to share, edit, or delete. And if you click on share and then select Screenshot Snipper, which you can see up there at the top, once you select that, you get this awesome little interface where you can see how I got my empty desktop next to the app I had open. And all you have to do is just select which desktop you want, then click save, and boom, you have a saved screenshot that only has the one screen on it. Instead of having to go into Google Photos or what have you and manually crop the thing, takes 2 seconds and you're done. Now, obviously, we all hope that Microsoft, maybe that's part of the November update, a better screenshot system. I would love to see a screenshot UI like what OnePlus has, where you basically have a markup feature built in where you take your screenshot and you can just hit one button, go straight into an editing thing that maybe could utilize the Surface Pen to do markup or whatever you wanted to do, or a screen, and maybe would have a which screen do you want to save functionality. That is something that absolutely needs to happen. As someone that used to deal with a lot of spreadsheets and sales numbers and things like that, I use my phone for that a lot when I would send out messages to my 20, 30, 40 team members that needed to see sales numbers, and I'm sharing information with them. I could go in with my OnePlus phone, draw brackets around things, use my finger to write some notes on it, send it out to the group, and I'm done. With the Surface Duo, with the bigger, wider screen to take a screenshot of something like that, a built-in interface for that would be freaking tremendous. But this is a step in the right direction, so check out that link down there in the comments, and definitely stay tuned for more potential tips and tricks with the Surface Duo as we go forward. So guys, that is my news radar for the day. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next episode of My News Radar, wherein I give you all the latest news on tech, gaming, etc. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.